Hey, welcome to the Horse Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show. Happy 2025! This is the first episode of the year, and I have to start this episode by saying that I lied. I have to say it. I lied. In the last episode, I said I was gonna record another episode before the end of the year, but I didn't because I was so busy packing up and figuring out all my last minute purchases for the holidays and all that stuff, and then I was off for 2 weeks. So I didn't really bring any recording device with me apart from my phone. So I didn't, I was I needed a break as well in general. I just needed to rest a bit. So here we are. So apologies for not putting anything out in the past 3 weeks, but a girl is busy, I need to also be on it. So, but yeah, anyways, I hope you guys had a lovely, holiday. Christmas holidays were always go by so fast. So I hope at least you guys enjoyed yourselves and had a wonderful time. And also I hope 2025 brings you guys pretty much anything your heart desires. So, yeah, I think also just to approach 2025, my big, I guess, I don't know, expectation, I guess, from the year is that, every time a new year starts for me is just sort of a reboot in terms of pop culture and just trends and everything else. And looking back on what 2024 brought us, I'm just so excited now for 2025 to bring something else, right? So some new trends, some new, new music, new movies, new books, new forms of entertainment and all that stuff. So, and 2024 has been a chaotic year in terms of what was popping off and all that. And we had a very important year, I guess, for pop culture, very female dominated year, and varied in terms of genres and what really gave us, I guess, the most entertainment. We had so many horror movies, if you think about it, so many different type of genres popping off. Country, we had a moment with country music. We had a moment with a very big moment that influenced other, percolated, I guess, to other parts of pop culture, which was sort of the rave club music brought by Brat and Brat Summer. And then we also had the very quintessential pop summer with Sabrina. And so there has been a lot of different areas have been dominating in different ways, I guess. And this is more a testament also to how fragmented, I guess, our audiences are in that sense. The audience in general, the culture is just fragmented. There's no monoculture anymore. I think I've talked about this ad nauseum in my previous episodes as well, in so many episodes. But this is sort of a sign that there's no longer a single leading strand of pop culture in that sense. Whatever, it's so dispersed now that whatever the majority starts listening to, it doesn't really matter. There's always space for something else to just blow up, and which is very exciting in hindsight, to be fair. We had so many different moments. So, and today I want to talk also about something that is a combination of all that, I guess, and very much a spearheader in terms of how, in terms of 2024 trends in movies and all that stuff. I'm going to talk about The Substance in retrospective, I guess, because I did watch the movie, of course, when it came out, but I sort of never reviewed it just because mostly, one, I was so confused by the movie when it first came out. I wasn't really entirely sure how to feel about it. I knew that I liked it, but I didn't really know to what extent. And I also thought about the movie so much that it took me a while to actually focus on why it is so important in that sense, why it was so critically acclaimed. And also, since the it is the seasons for for the awards, I guess. Like, it is award season, so the conversations about this movie have picked up again, and I've seen sort of like a resurgence now also between the fans and like the consumers in general about this movie. So it's been getting a lot of traction, and it's so interesting because this started off as a very small movie. Like, the budget was so small, and just the team behind it was also pretty small, and like everything else was just like a very indie sort of effort. And to see it go this far and get especially after the Golden Globes and everything, is just quite interesting. So that sort of kickstarted rediscovery of the movie for me personally. So I rewatched it again from my computer now, because it's like available everywhere digitally as well. So I just sort of went into a new rabbit hole with this movie, and I am happy to report that I have so many new thoughts about this movie, and just in general, like, I think I sort of got the point of the movie even further. Like, there's so many different elements and layers to this, and then I started watching so many interviews and so many reviews of the movie as well. I just fell into the rabbit hole, and now I'm here. And this is so interesting because I don't know why I'm talking about this as my first episode, but again, as I said, this is sort of also a movie that represents what was, and sort of, I guess, still is, but mostly what was popping off, and like what was very popular, and what was, I guess, very influential in 2024. So this is probably the manifesto movie for 2024. It has a bit of everything. So yeah. But again, as usual, and something that I will never give up on this bloody podcast, is my contribution to the songs of the week. So here's what I've been listening to. Now, I know it's been 3 weeks, so I'll try and just get four tracks or something. But during the holidays, we had the SOS Deluxe album Lana by SZA. And she added like 15 songs or something to SOS after 2 years, I believe, that the album was out. So this is a deluxe version, but technically it's more of a side B, I guess, to the album. I don't know. Like, it's 15 more tracks. So, and you know what? Like, I want to bring this up. Why is no one talking about SZA doing this, but then everyone is complaining about Taylor Swift having a 39 track album or whatever? Like, SZA did exactly the same, and no one is batting an eye, so whatever. But I guess you could argue like it's been 2 years, but again, just release it as a separate project or whatever. But anyways, as usual, excellence of this album. But there are so many songs that I like. I'm gonna list them all, but I think I'm gonna choose one probably. I'm gonna limit myself to like choose just one. But I loved BMF. I loved Scorsese, Baby Daddy. I loved Another Life. I loved Kitchen. I love Kitchen Down, personally. But my favorite one was Cry Baby, personally. Like, that song is just so good, so relatable. It's a very, like, production-wise, it's a very stereotypical, like, R&B ballad in that sense. But it does have a lot of relatable lyrics. And it's just, like, basically SZA, like, sort of coming to terms with herself, and like realizing that she's always getting in her own way, and if she didn't, she would be less of a crybaby, and she would be less of a burden to her partner, etc., etc. So very relatable stuff. I loved if it's Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong. Like, that sort of encapsulates, I guess, SZA's mindset in general, the way she thinks and everything else. So a very pessimistic person, a very catastrophic person, but yeah, it's just so good. Like, I love her vocals on this. Very like dreamy type of production. Again, very stereotypically R&B ballad, I guess, but it's just still very effective, and also her vocals are just incredible. Like, her vocal stylistic choices on this are just impeccable. So, Crybaby, yeah, Crybaby, yes. That is going into the place. Also, like, I find it very funny on Twitter. People were saying that she copied Melanie Martinez, but because of the prosthetics, I guess, for the album and some of the production, I guess. I don't know. But it's just like, it's very far fetched because the type of songs that she actually made are so different from what Melanie Martinez does. And I find very little overlap, apart from the prosthetics. But prosthetics are not. Melanie Martinez did not invent the prosthetics. Like, she's been Crybaby, like, without prosthetics for two albums. Like, come on. So yeah, this song hit, and I love, like, I have a very specific association with, like, I mean, to me SOS is a Christmas or like the winter album, and the deluxe is no difference, also because of when it came out as well. And just like, I've been listening to this song specifically a lot during the holidays, so yeah, pretty lit. I love the song so much. Love the song Down, actually. Next song is yeah, I don't know what I put this one in. And you know what? Whatever. The Greatest by Cat Power. Now this, when I was in Italy, came on the radio, and I've never even heard of Cat Power before. I was like, who is she? But the song is very sad. Like, really, really sad. Even in terms of production, it's like a piano, orchestral, like violin, is there something like that? Yeah. Type of ballad. So, yeah. But very depressing. I am not entirely sure what it is about. Like, it's just, I guess, like, once I want to be the greatest, that's the main hook, like, Two Fists of Solid Rock, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I just love like the rawness of this track. She's sad. She's sad. But you guys may know about her and about her music. I believe the song is quite old. Well, a bit old, maybe. But either way, that hit. So, kudos to Cat Power. She really did that. Then I do want to talk about Can't Get You by Jaehyun, from his first album, Jay. This song must have come out in 2024, like midway through 2024, I guess. Didn't really listen to the album at all, but I just sort of wanted some KRMB in my life, so I just went around and looked for it, and this was it. Oh, actually, 26th of August, so I'm not really too late to this, to the game, but this song is so good. Like, it's really, really good. It's the closer to the album as well, and Jaehyun really fits the R&B aesthetic, I guess, the R&B like production and everything. He has that voice. Like, he has that voice for that type of song. Then, since we're in talking about the substance, I have to put Pump It Up in the playlist. This is the original track that was remixed then for the movie, and it's when Sue in a movie performs for the first time, I think. So yeah, this song is just house music, I guess. Like, it's a very housey type of song, and it does remind me a lot of like what they would use in like those fitness classes, like video fitness classes or whatever, which is the whole point of the movie as well. But it's just infectious. I don't know. It's just like, I keep on thinking about this damn song all the time, and I think also it's because like a lot of new edits have been popping up on my TikTok For You page, and they all use this damn song. Pump it up, you got to pump it up, don't you know? Pump it up. Anyways, this is Pump It Up by Andor. Just think of your regular, I guess, like, I don't know, like workout class, like Zumba. Not Zumba. I don't know. Like, how would you describe that? I guess like just work out, like body workout or whatever, like walking to stay fit or whatever, all that stuff, like video classes or whatever. So that's the type of music it is, sort of in the space of. But yeah, very cool stuff, very cool stuff. Now, since this leads me perfectly into the movie, let's just talk about the movie. Let's just get it out of the way. Like, let's just start with the plot, I guess, just very briefly, not too much, not too little. I'm just gonna give you a bit of an overview, but you do need to watch the movie, I think, if you haven't watched it already. The conversation has been, picking up again, so I think this is the time for you guys to go and watch the movie. It's available, I think, on streaming as well. But I bought the movie. I bought the movie. Like, I love the movie so much that I bought it digitally, a digital copy. So, but I'm sure you can find it. So, anyways, it is, first of all, disclaimer, I guess, it is a body horror, which it means basically that there is a lot of blood and a lot of violence and a lot of disgusting scenes. Like, I'm talking about, like, revolting, like stomach revolting, like very, very disgusting scenes, like really riveting stuff. So if you are disturbed, I guess, by these things, and you're not really good with, like, I'm talking about a lot of blood. At a certain point in the movie, there's a lot of blood. Like, after a while, it gets very disgusting and very I'm not saying disgusting in, like, in a derogatory way, but, like, it's really, like, supposed to make you feel like that way, like very revolting type of scenes and, like, everything else. So watch at your own risk. But if you are not minded too much by this, then you need to watch the movie. So it basically follows a celebrity, I guess. From the movie, I guess you can also tell, like, she is also an ex-movie star who is at the tail end of her career, and is her only occupation, I guess, now is just to lead these classes, I guess. And she is in, well, I'm saying that she's at the tail end of her career because she's in her 50s, I guess. And so, as many of you guys know, that is in like, I guess, in, like, the entertainment industry's terms, is an old age for an entertainer. And so she is basically, but she used to be such a, in the movies, is pretty much established that she was an incredibly popular star. She had her own actual star on the Hollywood Walk, whatever. So that's what we're doing with, like, with a faded celebrity, I guess. Then she gets fired for no exact reason apart from the fact that she is too, like, according to her producer, too old, and everything needs to be, revamped and everything and all that stuff. So that's the reason why the producer wants to fire her. And so this basically sends her into a whole spiral, and into a full, like, cycle of hatred and introspection, I guess, that leads her to basically hate herself and her appearance, and I guess her own decaying body in that sense, even though, like, she is still very pretty and very healthy looking and, like, fit in that sense, right? But it doesn't really matter, because, like, the opinion of someone that really, is giving her a job in that sense, like, is keeping her employed, really sends her into a spiral and, like, makes her rethink everything, and to the point where she then gets into a car accident and accidentally stumbles upon the substance. The substance is basically this drug that you can use to duplicate yourself, I guess, and, like, create a much younger version of yourself, and you can switch between the two bodies. Basically, your conscience can go between the two bodies. There's, of course, a lot of there are so many rules to follow in that sense to keep the balance. That's the whole thing. Keep the balance, right? They have to be one in that sense. One side cannot overtake the other, or the whole thing goes astray in that sense. So, and the side effects are crazy bad. So that's where it starts then getting interesting, because the more she's in her other body, like the younger self, the more she desires to stay in that one. But when she switches back to, when she basically breaks the rules, like every 7 days she should technically go back and be in her old body for another 7 days, right? So, but sometimes it gets to that point where she just wants to stay in the younger self, and she breaks the rules and stays for longer. And then the longer she breaks the rules, the worse are the side effects to the original body. So whenever she goes back to the original body, her body starts decaying even faster and becomes older and sort of monstrous as well, looking in that sense. So, and to the point where like the two sides basically split. They have their own conscience and their own needs and their own, I guess, interests. So, and they start hating each other in that sense as well. So, because one is like, taking the youth away from them, and and all that. So it's very interesting, very cool concept for a movie, I think. And there are so many different layers in this movie, so many different layers. But yeah, basically, when she's in her younger self, like in the younger body, Sue, Elizabeth Sparkles is the older lady, of course, portrayed by Demi Moore. You may know her from Ghost and other movies. I can't remember, like, what was it? Oh my god, About Last Night and Blaming on Rio, I think. Like she's been around for a long time. She was in G.I. Jane, I think. Oh yeah, G.I. Jane, yeah, The Scarlet Letter, all that stuff. So she's been around for ages, and this role for her was sort of also a self-parody in a way, because she is sort of also representing her own experience in the entertainment industry and being, ageism and all that stuff in the entertainment industry. But I guess she's also speaking about every person in every working field in that sense, and like in society in general being affected so much by their own age and like the prejudice against older people, but specifically women, and specifically women in the entertainment industry. So there's a lot of that. And so basically Sue, who is instead portraying Elizabeth's younger self, Sue, is played by Margaret Qualley, who is also notably part of the Taylor Swift universe. I had to bring her up, but she's married to Jack Antonoff, who is one of the main collaborators of Taylor Swift. So yeah, so she's stunning in this role as well. She's perfectly cast as well. And basically, yeah, Sue starts, wants to be more active and have more days and be more, more herself. And so she starts breaking the rules and negatively affecting, therefore, Elizabeth, who starts resenting Sue and all that stuff, and it goes into like a full bloody mess. But I'll leave it to you guys to watch it, I think, because it is such an interesting experience. And the more the movie progresses, the more it becomes delirious and like nonsensical. I mean, that's why at first I didn't really want to also review it, because I didn't really quite understand the ending itself. And I'm still on the fence about it, I guess, but it's not entirely nonsensical. There is a meaning to that, but it gets very like extremely gory, to the point where it gets funny. Like, to that point, like, it's so ironic and nonsensical that it becomes funny. But yeah, so go watch it, have a blast. Anyways, now let's give credits where the credits are due. So the movie itself was written, directed, co-edited, co-produced by one single person. Well, this single person has overseen the entirety of it all, which is Coralie Farjat, who is a French writer, like director and everything, and she is pretty much, I would say, up and coming. She's never had any big breakout as of now, and this has been definitely her critical breakout in that sense, movie. So she is such an interesting director. Like, she is not the stereotypical, like, you know, Hollywood director who goes for wide shots and a lot of CGI and a lot of green screen scenes and all that stuff. She is a very practical and very artistically motivated director, and I think that's what also in the many interviews that I've seen, also like Demi Moore and Margaret Qualley have been talking about, and also herself. She does talk a lot about how she's very much motivated by other things, not necessarily like, you know, the usual stuff. But yeah, I think one of the great credits of this movie is that it was basically produced with just about a budget of like $17.5 million, which is extremely low for a movie in general, and it earned 79 million overall, as I think worldwide. That's the total box office, but which is extremely impressive, and it's a sign of, like, you know, especially for a critically acclaimed movie. Like, it's not a mainstream movie. It's not supposed to be a mainstream movie in that sense. It's for the critics mostly, but it's an incredible budget and an incredible, you know, commercial success in that sense. So, very, very, very impressive, and, you know, also makes you wonder, like, you know, when you hear these numbers, you're like, well, I have to watch it. You know, I have to, like, know what people are talking about and why it's such a big topic. So, yeah, and I think what's even, you know, more interesting is that the movie came out in May 2024, but since now we're running into the, you know, the award season, you're getting a lot of, you know, new critical perspectives on the movie, and it's been receiving a lot of acclaim as well in the different, you know, award shows. So it's been nominated a lot into, like, in the Critics' Choice Awards and like the Golden Globe Awards, and I think we're still waiting for the shortlist for the Oscars as well. But Demi Moore has also won now very recently a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy for this role. So this is massive also for her, because she also has never won in her 40 plus years of her career. She's never won any award as an actress. So any major award as an actress, I guess. So this was so full circle also for the movie itself, because it's so interesting. Like, she literally proves a point through a movie that is about ageism in the entertainment industry. So it's just incredible to me. Like, it's just crazy. So yeah, I think it's just, you know, there are so many elements, or in terms of production and everything, that are just so cool. I was also very impressed when I found out that like many parts of the movie have been shot in actually in France, even though the movie's sort of set in this like Hollywood type of city, but it's actually also a lot of it has been shot in France. Also, the reason why the budget has been so low for this movie is because, like, most of it, actually, the like majority of the movie has been shot through practical effects and a lot of prosthetics, and basically gives the movie definitely more of an indie type of production, but at the same time it's just much more effective, and it really shows all these big producers like in Hollywood that you can actually make such an interesting movie with a very low budget and still make it visually super interesting. Like, the movie is a visual feast. There's a lot in terms of, like, you know, shots and cinematography that, you know, is worth noting in that sense. Like so many, like, even in terms of like outfits and like color grading and all of that is just impeccable in that department. Also, I think to Corley's credit, most of the movie was already sort of envisioned by herself. Like, she already went to, you know, to the filming sets with all the scenes already planned out in her brain, and she also, I think, sketched all of the movie itself. So she was ready to go. I found also crazy, another thing that I found very interesting is that the movie was shot for a good 5 months or something, and it's insane because also in terms of sets and locations and everything, the movie doesn't really go anywhere crazy. It's mostly like concentrated in Elizabeth's house and the studio itself, and just like you see, like they rarely like see. There are not that many scenes. Like she doesn't travel. Like Elizabeth doesn't travel anywhere else. Who doesn't travel anywhere else? So it's all concentrated in one small environment, but it just took so long because one of the practical effects and everything, and also I think the prosthetics and all that, and how Corley's just a very, I want to say, anal type of director. So yeah, it's just insane. So, and also kudos to the actresses who managed to put up with all this and like still stay sane in that sense. But yeah, just I was just impressed by finding out all these things that I like. Just an incredible feat for a movie, you know. But anyways, let's now get into my thoughts, I guess, on like just the main plot points or like the main themes, I guess, for the movie managed to like talk about and explore in depth. I said the main point, I guess, for the movie is just ageism and how specifically women are easily set aside when they reach a certain age, despite them being incredibly successful in whatever they do. So that's one already, one of the most glaring, I guess, themes in the movie, and it's like explored throughout the entirety of the movie, of course, from the moment it starts towards even the end, and the very gory, bloody ending as well. Now I'm gonna start also talking about spoilers because I'm gonna have to like eventually name some scenes and all that. So continue, of course, at your own risk. But yeah, I want to talk about. So that ageism is of course a big plot point throughout the entire movie. So that's one. But I think also in a way it's very interesting how ageism and like most definitely also misogynism and just self-hatred in that sense is something that truthfully like is internalized so easily and like is just something that takes root and completely changes your mindset, like the way you view things. Like literally Elizabeth was so happy at the beginning of the movie, like just doing what she loved the most, I guess. She wasn't really bothered already by the condition she was in. Like she was just like doing basically this fitness program or whatever, which was quite limiting, I guess. But she wasn't really bothered by that, or at least it's never been it's never been established in the plot line that she was bothered by the restrictions that were put in her career towards because of her age. But I think what sends her over the edge is just the fact that it can all be taken away from her so quickly without even her having a say on it, and for the stupidest reasons ever that she cannot, and for reasons that she cannot even change. So then therefore she starts internalizing all these things, and she starts to believe that she is actually terribly old, and she has lost value because of her age, and she's no longer of any use. And then therefore she tries to fix, I guess, the problem, quote unquote fix, by looking into other things, like remedies and all this stuff. And then the substance itself, I think, is a big signifier of that. It's sort of like a representation, I guess, of all the plastic surgery and alterations that women do to like go through to change themselves, to try to remain youthful, but ultimately end up turning people into monsters, basically, when they take it too far in that sense. Because the movie does go into that direction as well. Like the substance gets abused so much that it turns Elizabeth into an actual, both Elizabeth and Sue into an actual monster, because they both go into two separate ways. Like Elizabeth gets so depleted by this whole thing that she becomes like incredibly old, but like also monstrous in that sense, while Sue, trying to get rid of Elizabeth, once she basically successfully kills Elizabeth off, she of course kills off the balance as well, and then she suffers the consequences of that, and she becomes an actual monster when she tries to inject a second time, which she keeps on breaking the rules, and it gets to that point. So I guess it is also a commentary on like all these plastic surgery that has been, an integrating part of our society nowadays, and like how people take it so far that it turns them into like unrecognizable individuals. So I also liked that part, to be fair, which is very, very interesting to me. I mean, I am not against plastic surgery, to make it clear. I do think it's okay to use it and in moderation, I guess. But I think some people do use it so much for the wrong reasons, and that it takes them to this level of, craziness in a way. So, yeah. Um, I also think in a way the movie is, there is, even though it's not entirely explored, I guess, specifically, but there's a lot of, I think there are a lot of signs, I guess, of a mother-daughter relationship between Elizabeth and Sue, even though they're not daughter and mother in that sense, but they also technically are, I guess, because Sue is born out of Elizabeth's DNA and everything. But yeah, and how basically a lot of mothers see in their daughters like a replacement for themselves, and like their youthness, I guess, in that sense, gets taken away from them when they give birth and all that stuff, and like they, seeing their daughters grow is a constant reminder of their own decaying body in that sense. So I wish the movie went a bit more into that relationship, maybe like that aspect. But I think it's definitely there as well in that sense. Like it's pretty much, especially in the last moments where like Elizabeth wants to terminate the experiment and is about to kill off Sue, but then regrets it and brings Sue back to life or whatever. That to me was speaking a lot in that department, I guess, but they never really fully went there. So take it with a grain of salt, I guess. So yeah, and I think also it's something that I don't think many people realize, but I think this is actually not exaggerated in that sense. Like the ageism in that sense is not. It's actually very glaring, especially in the entertainment industry. Like it's so bad, and not simply in the movies, in just like the movies industry, but also music, for example. Like see how many times like pop stars get replaced by other younger versions, I guess, in that sense. Like how many people, how many like entertainers in that sense manage to only stay relevant for a very short period of time because just the culture and like everything moves so fast that it craves for that replacement rate in that sense. So yeah, so that's quite interesting in my opinion, like something that should have been, I guess, explored before, like in previous years, but it's never been quite done as well as this. And there are other movies I think that also coincidentally came out in this year, in 2024, that are also about the same topic. The Last Showgirl, I think, with Pamela Anderson, and also Baby Girl by with Nicole Kidman. So they're all sort of all about the same topic in a way, kind of. They all deal with ageism in a way. So it's quite interesting that this was the conversation also that was around the movies, the other movies that came out. I think another important thing to keep in mind is also that this movie falls aesthetically, I guess, into the slot of the dirty girl aesthetic. That's what I like to call it. But it's sort of like the bratosphere, the brat adjacent world, the ravey type of aesthetic, right? The music in this movie is it could very much fit into the brat world, and it's a trend that was followed by so many other movies as well. Like if you think about it, what was it? Challengers also had a lot of like rave type of music, like club type of music, and very fast paced and like a lot of, clubby music. And then I think even Baby Girl has some elements of that, and I think it's also partly because of A24 itself being so dominant this year that they have brought their own aesthetic into this. Anora also has some sort of connection to that world as well. So it's quite interesting. I mean, I guess it makes sense why aesthetically and like by the cinematography and everything, it was so popular between the teens and the Gen Zs, because it very much fits into what was happening also culturally in the music scene and everywhere else. So yeah. I've seen plenty of like remixes, very sick remixes, very cool. Um, I think there was one that was like 360, 365 and Pump It Up remix. It was so good. I recommend checking it out on YouTube, maybe if you can find it. It's actually so fucking cool. But yeah, really like the movie. And I think to me specifically, as I was saying, like the part that really confused me a lot was the end of it. Um, but then I sort of watched so many interviews and all that, and I sort of got the point that basically the movie's also a lot about violence. You know, that's also a big part of the movie itself. Violence and like body horror is also embodying that violence towards. Well, Elizabeth is very violent towards Sue in that sense, and Sue is very violent towards Elizabeth at first. But it's a violence that is like directed both at oneself. So because Sue and Elizabeth are technically the same person, but also I think the ending is also, I guess, an explosion and like a explosion of violence towards the rest of the world. Like this tension and this self hatred built up so much that it then inevitably actually directs itself towards the source, which is society at large, but also these people control what beauty standards are supposed to be and all that stuff. So I think in the end I got there. It took me a bit. I know. I mean, I sort of got the vibe that it was that, but I never truly like grasped it as well. I mean, I didn't really see the connection between the genre and the point of the movie, but it makes so much sense. And I think what really surprised me the most, also by listening to the interviews, is that, as Coralie says, sometimes you need something this shocking and this riveting and this disgusting in that sense to shock you and to create a reaction, to generate a reaction in the public. Like, you can be subtle, of course. Subtle is never underestimated, of course. Like, it's a choice that many people take when dealing with complicated subjects sometimes. But sometimes you need a good old body horror that shocks the hell out of you and puts you into a frenzy. Carly literally said like she chose to be so direct and so in your face, because sometimes that's the best strategy to like actually make you think and to send you into like these rabbit holes that I also fell into. So yeah, just it worked. So yeah, I hope you guys check it out. And I hope at least I inspired some of you guys to just, go to the movies a bit more. Like, this past year has been so productive and so good. I really think the movies have been, the entire industry, like the entertainment industry, has been picking up its pace. And I think 2025 is going to be very busy in terms of movies. Well, January's has been quite dead as of now, and it's going to be quite dead this month. But I think we're going to start getting a lot of interesting things and interesting movies, interesting stuff. And I'm very much excited, as that, also about music. I'm very much excited about what new projects are going to come out. And there is a lot on the horizon. And I will be covering all that and I will be reviewing all these things on the podcast. So stay tuned. Also, remember to follow me on all my social media. It's usually in the description of every episode, but also you can find me, on Instagram, TikTok, all that. And just remember to check out the playlists as well. They're all called the Overshare Pamphlet Songs of the Week - month and year. So you can find them like that as well. Anyways, see you next episode. Bye.